Reality has been rewritten. From a young age, Steve Rogers was raised in the world of HYRDA. He became one of their greatest spies, Captain America. In 1945, he was even granted a chance to see the source of HYRDA's power. He met a man, the father of HYRDA, the father to them all. He explained to Steve that the world will be bent and changed. The Allies will use a secret weapon, a cosmic cube, to make it so HYRDA will lose the war. The only thing that will survive will be a shaper, a living cosmic cube. She will find her way to Steven and fix everything. She will restore the world as it was. Steve will lose all memory of this and his former life. Instead, he will remember an illusion, of Avengers, of friends. It's a trick, a prison, but Rogers can free them all. Don't be afraid. This is not how the world ends. He was the greatest superhero of them all, their leader and guide. They were wrong to trust him. But divided, corrupted, and lost, they failed to notice what was happening until it was too late. In that moment, when the heroes were at their weakest, he struck. This is the price we paid for that weakness. This is the day our heroes failed. He was subtle about it, at least at first. The heroes were called out. It seemed like unrelated enemies suddenly came from everywhere, all at once, and everyone was too distracted by it to see the bigger picture. The planetary defense shield was taken down by a HYRDA suicide bomber just as the Chitauri began a vicious attack on Earth. Carol Danvers, Alpha Flight, the Ultimates, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the new hero Kazar all moved in to defend Earth in space, but the Chitauri numbers were endless. Steve reassured Carol to be patient. He has two of his best people on it. Tony Stark and Riri Williams race to bring the Earth shield back online. Meanwhile, New York is burning. An army of supervillains have attacked, all former inmates of Maria Hill's old facility, Pleasant Hill. Across the sea, HYRDA forces have conquered the nation of Sokovia, and a helicarrier has disappeared. In response to this, S.H.I.E.L.D. has gathered their fleet together, but it's clear that the heroes are being overwhelmed from all sides. This is how he did it. This is how they were betrayed. In space, Kazar is devoured alive by a monstrous Chitauri. She had just come into her own as a hero. She fell, and hope fell with her. And just as all seemed lost, a programming trigger suddenly fires, and Earth's shield reappears. Things start to look up, and our heroes begin to push back. The Chitauri start to falter, while the villains flee, all disappearing at once. For a moment, things feel safe again. It's a good moment to remember. Then, the main command helicarrier Iliad is suddenly taken. A man named Dr. Faustus begins forcing S.H.I.E.L.D. to surrender with his powers, while HYRDA men move from floor to floor to the bridge. Though Sharon aims to fight back, Steve orders everyone to stand down and surrender. He is the one who rules this wheel, and he says, "Hail HYRDA." A baffled Sharon is taken away, though Steve promises he will explain everything when she is ready to listen. Steve then contacts Carol while Tony and Riri investigate the sudden reappearance of the Earth's orbital shield. It makes no sense. Somebody did this on purpose. But why would somebody want the shield to go down only to bring it back up again? What happened? What changed? Steve explains to Carol that he can't drop the shield and let them back into Earth. More Chitauri are coming. They will never stop attacking until they find their queen. And they're never going to find their queen. They will come in wave after wave until the heroes in space fall. Steve says she should be proud of the work she has done. Carol built this shield to protect the world from its greatest threats. And now that she is on the other side of that shield, she has succeeded. Steve says goodbye to Carol. This is the last time they will ever speak. Too late, Tony realizes this was all bait. They have all their heavy hitters out in space and now they're trapped there. They need to get a distress call out immediately. Outside of New York City, Baron Zemo prepares a spell. The heroes gave them a prison from their very selves, and now they shall be repaid with revenge, death, and darkness. The entire city is isolated in the Dark Force dimension. With this news, Tony knows where they are going to hit next. Calling out to any and all remaining Avengers, he says he needs their help. Everyone needs to get to Washington right now. Hydra is about to take over everything. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my recap and review of Secret Empire number 0. This is an interesting comic. I had been hearing so much hype over this one that by the time I got around to reading it, I wasn't really impressed, at least not at first. For one thing, the art is mediocre at best, there's no excusing that. While there are a few great panels and some decent use of color, a lot of the pencils looked really rushed. Look at Ironheart's helmet in some of these images. I think I could do a better job at that. And Daniel Acuna is definitely a better artist than I am, so it's kind of indication to me that this comic was under a tight deadline or something. A lot of his work felt disappointing, and that's a really bad sign this early in the event. There are a couple of clumsy elements to the writing too. As Nick Spencer has shown before, he's kind of one of those writers with a lot of good ideas, but perhaps floats too many of them at once. There's a lot going on here, and some of it pays off, stuff that Nick Spencer has been setting up for months, while other things are so pointless I still don't understand why he bothered with including any of it to begin with. A more focused story would probably improve this comic a little bit, because there's a lot of really cool things going on here. Cap stealing off the planet and booting off half the superhero community, and then trapping a bunch of others in New York City. That's really a cool thing, and the way he just sort of dismissed Carol was really well done. Tony's back too, that's cool, and will make everything that's about to happen that much more potent with Stark around to call Cap out on all of this. I also like that Carol kind of got her comeuppance from Civil War too. Just like how Tony ultimately paid for his mistakes in Secret Invasion, it seems like Carol's hubris has come around to haunt her in a very similar way. She sacrificed so much to protect Earth, and in doing so, couldn't have put it more in danger. I think that's a really smart little detail in the comic. I also like how the prologue delved into Hydra being this ancient and evil organization, not just Nazis light. And that's a nice twist when it turns out Cap might have always been like this, and things were only rewritten by the Allies long ago. The history we know and are familiar with, our history of our Earth, it might not be the real history of Marvel's Earth, and that's a pretty neat idea. I think there's more to what we saw in that little prologue that will be delved into in Secret Invasion, but still, points for being interesting right off the bat. I also like how, while politics might inform this story, this isn't really a political story at its core. The politics of today are definitely influencing Spencer's work, and his mind is definitely thinking about certain things when he's writing this stuff. But he doesn't go so far as to let politics entirely define his work. At its core, Secret Empire is about an ancient organization of evildoers taking control of the world, and our heroes becoming these underground renegades in the fight against him. That's a very superhero story with only light political commentary kind of existing in the background. And that's a relief, because I was worried this whole thing was going to verge into preachy territory. It doesn't, it's not like that. In fact, it's quite a bit of fun and a pretty good comic overall. Still, I'm concerned that the art had all these shortcomings as well as certain elements of the writing, and we're only getting started here. Events like this tend to trend downwards in quality, with the first few issues hitting hard and things usually fizzling out by the end. If Secret Empire follows that trend, oh god, we're gonna have a long couple of months ahead of us. But I do hold out at least some hope that it's possible this won't happen here. It's perfectly plausible that part of this comic's weakness is that Nick Spencer is investing time and content building out this story, hinting at future twists, and bringing us towards more solid content in the future. I don't know this, there's no way of knowing this, and there's only one way to know for sure. We'll see that when the full series comes out for ourselves. But there are aspects of this I find really promising, and so far the event is pretty cool. Secret Empire doesn't have a lot going for it. Based on what I hear from our viewers and just fans in general, they're getting really tired of these events. Patience with Nick Spencer isn't exactly at an all-time high either, and I get the impression from a lot of readers that nobody truly wants this to happen. Or at least they didn't before this comic came out. In spite of all these concerns, I think Secret Empire #0 did a lot to impress people and was the first good step at winning over skeptics like myself. To that end, I kind of do recommend this comic. There are flaws, it's not perfect, but man oh man, there's some cool moments and it's hard to ignore those. So let me know what you thought in the comments section below. If you want to say in the comics we review, you can check out our Patreon page to see how. The link will be in the video description. Finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hail HYRDA!